This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only. Nothing stated on it, either by its hosts or any guests, is to be construed as psychological, medical, or legal advice. You're listening to Adoptees On, the podcast where adoptees discuss the adoption experience. I'm your host, Haley Radke, and this is a special episode in our healing series, where I interview therapists who are also adoptees themselves so they know from personal experience what it feels like to be an adoptee. Today, we are talking about celebrations with Pam Cordano because we are celebrating 200 episodes of the Adoptees On podcast. Let's listen in. I'm so pleased to welcome back to Adoptees On, Pam Cordano. Welcome, Pam.
Thank you. This is such a fun night to be here with you. Such a celebratory event.
Yes, we are celebrating 200. I can barely say it. 200 episodes of the podcast, which I have mixed feelings about. I feel very happy and proud. And I'm also like, is that really real? I feel like I'm making up fake news here. Yeah.
It must be so surreal. I mean, to think about how long you've been doing this and all the work you've put in, and to have it to be 200 episodes is just it's sort of an unimaginable accomplishment.
Isn't it wild? So I haven't shared this anywhere publicly, but I'll share it with you today that the podcast, well over a month ago, hit 750,000 downloads. I mean, it's, getting closer to 8 at this point, but.
Amazing. Really just amazing.
Yeah. So we're celebrating, and that's what we're going to talk about. Adoptees and celebrations.
We're having a party right now, and we're going to be spreading the party when you release the podcast, so that we can all be having a party together to celebrate you and Adoptees On and all of us.
Absolutely. I'm still trying to figure that out. So there will be some kind of party, something for sure that folks can join in on.
Well, this is kind of a party right now.
Yes, this is the party. And I'll tell you later in the episode how you can join the other party.
Okay. Awesome.
One thing I've noticed with adopted people is sometimes it's hard for us to have a party and be happy. Is that your observation too?
It is. It's my observation of others, and it's also my personal experience. I can almost feel like I have a spacesuit on between me and the world. And so something exciting or great can happen, and I can feel like I know it in my brain, but I can barely feel it, like it's sort of outside, and it can have a hard time coming in. Is that what you mean?
Well, I have several examples in my head. So I can think of the moment in New Reunion where I was sitting with my biological family and thinking, this is it. This is what I wanted. Everybody's happy. This is exciting. And I was just sitting there feeling like, oh, I can't believe all the stuff I missed out on. And I couldn't get to the happy place. So I have that. Mm-hmm. And then I have the other, hating my birthday. There's like this anticipatory dread of birthdays coming. Everyone's like, oh, happy birthday. They want to have a party and celebrate you. And like those things are nice in theory, quote unquote, nice in theory, that your friends want to say nice things to you and celebrate with you, when I just want to crawl in a hole and not see anyone. Like, you want to celebrate the worst day of my life? Cool.
Right.
So those are the things that I think about when I think about celebrating. And yeah.
Well, can I ask you a question?
Okay.
Because so the example about birthdays is such a common one. We adoptees have so much trouble with our birthdays in general. I've heard a couple exceptions, but not many through the years. But with this being your 200th episode, is it a little bit different because this is something you created yourself, and you've executed, and you've stayed so devoted to. And I wonder if celebrating this feels different than something that is more directly connected to a loss that you had no say in or something like that.
Definitely. I definitely feel like I could celebrate this. Like I could get there. And I did. I was excited about talking with you today. I did think about that. And, you know, before we recorded, I was talking with my family and saying it's the 200th episode and it's going to air soon. And they were saying, oh, well, we should have a party and we should, you know, so they were kind of planning as well. And I was like, okay, so they think it's a big deal too. So the external things are telling me it's happy times. But no, I am proud. I'm proud. And, but yeah, I feel like probably when I press post, like release the episode, I'll still be like, And
what the is a,
you know, like, can I feel proud of it? Is it that big a deal? Is it, you know, those kinds of things?
Yeah.
Just anything to not be as happy as like I could be. Like, because feeling happy can be scary.
That's right. Feeling happy and excited and joyful can be scary.
Okay, and that sounds weird. That sounds weird, though. When most people hear that sounds weird. I've heard you say that before, which is why
you have?
I can observe that now. Yes. But why? Why can it be scary?
Okay. Well, I can think of a lot of reasons why it could be scary. One reason is that opening up to joy or excitement or happiness is opening. Period. So opening can be scary because when we open to anything outside of us that could come in and, you know, could hurt us. I mean, I sound paranoid, but it's sort of how I think we kind of are, you know, we got hurt. So when we open to joy and excitement and happiness, we open, period. So opening in and of itself can be so scary for us. Like we can be so used to protecting ourselves and keeping ourselves safe. And so to open to our full joy, our full excitement, our full happiness in a given situation opens us to all the other things too. And so, you know, that's where we can't really select. When we open, we can't select, well, I'll feel these emotions, but I'm not going to feel those emotions. And so when we open, anything can happen and we can be scared of that. So we might be like, well, better to just minimize the joy, happiness, excitement, and stay safe in my bunker where nobody can get me or hurt me or surprise me.
I hear jingling. It's like a happy noise.
It's like a Christmas. It's my dog celebrating you. My dog is not afraid at all of joy and celebration.
Oh, I love that, right? When I see kids, like there's that, you know, it is when I watch my kids and they're young. So they're 7 and 9 when we're recording this. They're young boys. I mean, their whole life is just one happy ball of do what I want, joyful. I mean, they are living it up.
Yeah.
And so there's something to feel jealous about there for me.
It's like looking at zoo animals like, look at this kind of animal that's just so openly happy and joyful.
It's funny that you say that because the one thing I was thinking when you were talking about it is I have tried to turn off multiple places where people can message me because the majority of messages I get actually are extremely kind and loving. And thank you so much for the podcast, Haley. You changed my life. And it's Pam knows this too well. It's very hard for me to accept those things.
Yeah.
And so by turning those things off, I'm like, okay, good. I don't have to read that anymore, which is
right. Like, and I don't have to open.
No, I don't have to open.
It's like a whole system opening. Joy and excitement and happiness.
I want to be able to be open. sad to think that I'm putting up barriers, that we're putting up barriers to limit be happy.
It is really sad. It is. It's like being half alive or opening halfway up to life or something like that. You know, it's hard. And there's another part of it that I was thinking about, which is that I think sometimes we're scared that if we really open up to our full joy and happiness and excitement about things, that we'll be in some way like being disloyal to the pain we've gone through and to the hurt we've experienced. And so it's like, and then we'll look so okay that the world will be like, see, it's no big deal being adopted. She looks fine. She's so joyful. Look at her. Like, clearly this isn't that big of a thing.
Okay, you're kind of blowing my mind now, because I could absolutely identify with that. And I'm sure a lot of adoptee advocates and adoptees in the public space could probably identify with that too. Yeah, it's hard because it's sort of, how do we learn that we can have both, that we can be really loyal and clear about and grounded in the pain that we've endured, and also open to what actually is exciting and joyful and happy. How can we have both? I guess that's a challenge for us. But I think it's a worthy challenge, because we deserve all of both parts. Do you think that any of us have a fear of like, I don't even want to go there because what if I can't feel happy? Like there's like that kind of a fear.
Oh yeah. You know what I was thinking about was that when people are in trauma and they're living in trauma, there's a lot of conserving energy that goes on because trauma is so exhausting. And so when we get into like a conservation mode and we just practice kind of conserving, like I've talked before about that, it's not my natural inclination to move. Like I'm comfortable just sitting on a couch. And I know some adoptees who are really athletic and love to move. And if they're not moving, they're kind of freaking out or they're getting really anxious or something. But for me, I was more like, I if I stayed just sitting down, I feel kind of safer. And so if I feel really happy and excited, I want to get up and move around, and I feel like, more movement. But the thing I was going to say is that however we conserve energy or kind of protect ourselves can become a habit. Like it's not necessarily that we have the same level of threat right in front of us, but holding back can become, I'll call it holding back. That's better. Holding back can become a habit, and just a way that we don't even know we can stretch our personality. That's kind of what you were saying, right? Like we may not know we can get that joyful or that happy. And then we can sort of have our emotional home be at this sort of lower baseline, like a little bit melancholy, or the technical word is a little dystomic. And we can be afraid to leave that kind of our emotional home and go too far out. And then we might feel like we could get really ungrounded there. Like I know myself is sort of like, I know myself when I'm in pain, but I don't know myself when I'm in joy. So I'd rather know who I am than venture out and not know who I am, because that's scary.
Well, I have lived personally so many times through depression. And so I've had periods where I've been on like medication for that. And I'm always like kind of watching for that. But I wonder if I'm also subconsciously watching for like, oh, we're a little bit too up here. That means there could be a down, like alert, alert.
Yeah, right. Because we all have our stories of sort of what our life is about. And if we get a little too up, I'm trying to find a way to language what you just said.
Well, I literally see people sabotage, right? Self-sabotage in those situations. Mm-hmm. Like things are going really well, too well. Mm-hmm. I probably should do something to push everyone away and make them mad at me.
Mm-hmm. Ruin it.
I don't know. I mean, I'm sure somebody does that, not me, but.
Yeah, totally. There have been times I've started to feel more joyful than I'm comfortable with, and I've eaten food that actually makes me sick, just so that I can like bring myself down physiologically. get a stomach ache or just get myself just feeling really like sick.
And
I've done that before.
Do you choose that, like knowing that it's going to make you sick, like literally making that choice, or is that like underneath the surface?
I think it's been both.
Okay.
I think nowadays more I'm like, okay, why do I all of a sudden want to go, get donuts when I don't even eat donuts anymore? Like why? Like what's going on? And I get scared when I feel too good. I get kind of scared. I do. It's almost like I'm, those cartoon characters that they run off the cliff and then they're fine until they look down and they realize they're going to fall. It feels like that. Right. Like I get a little too happy and I better do something to get myself back on land again, that I know the land of you can get hurt, Pam. Right?
Yeah. Right. I mean, this is sad that this is so relatable. I mean, I knew this going into this recording. Like I knew that I was going to be like super relating, but it's also, I'm feeling a little bit sad for us, like we shouldn't.
Me too.
It shouldn't.
We should
be
have
like this.
We should have like an adoptee joy challenge or something.
Well, I like that. Well, one of the things you and I are doing for Patreon supporters is we're doing these parties every other month. So we do off-script parties and Pam comes and we do some questions. And when we were planning those things out, you and I both were talking through this. Like, we don't want it to be support groupy and like telling all the hard things about each other. We want it to be happy. And I always call it friendship matchmaking, which is kind of the idea, right? Making connections and out of a place of happiness, or, sometimes they're silly questions. Sometimes we try and keep them mostly light. Sometimes they're a little bit more, I don't know. Anyway, happy, trying to be happy and positive because
festive.
Yeah. It's because so many of the things we talk about are so hard, and you're a therapist. I mean, people aren't coming to you telling you happy things all day.
But when they do, I love it. People are like, oh, I don't know. I'm in therapy right now because I feel happy today. And I'm like, happy is a great thing to talk about in therapy. Let's talk about it.
Well, how do we get more of it?
Yeah. But I think our off-script parties have been really fun. I mean, in the little groups I've been in, they felt really joyful and people have been curious and just making interesting connections. And it hasn't been a chance to just kind of go into a down story or something.
Right.
It's been really nice and fun.
Yeah. And like, I think when you're connecting with other adopted people, right, we have that shared language, common experiences, even though they're varied, there's still some underlying common themes. And a lot of those are hard. So how do we get out of that? And even though this show, often every episode, we're talking about hard things. A few years ago, I took a stand-up comedy class because I'm like, I gotta figure out some ways to lighten things up.
There's a lot of funny things. I mean, that's where I think when adoptees get together and they feel safe, and I've noticed this at retreats or in Flourish that Anne and I are doing this year, or just with friendship, with adoptee friendships. Once people know that they can be as serious and talk about the hard things, then they really have much more room to get light and funny and have fun together. That's what I've really noticed, is that because knowing that we can talk about the hard things establishes like a trust ground, and then we can really have fun. Because it's not like we're being misunderstood. It's not like someone's gonna misunderstand us, and that's important, I think, for us sometimes. One of my favorite kind of self-help books, I'm not a big self-help book person, but one of my favorite self-help books is The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. And in that book, he talks about, in my book, I wrote about this too, but he talks about something called an upper limit problem. And that's where he says all humans have a baseline of where we feel comfortable and where it's like an emotional home, like an emotional baseline where we understand this is what my life is like. And that when things start to get too good or better than we're used to, that's when we can have a quote upper limit problem and start sabotaging. And so I love that framework because when I first learned it, I told my my husband and my kids. And there would be times that at the dinner table or something, I would say something and just start an argument. And they would say, upper limit problem, Mom. Like, are you having an upper limit problem? And it was so funny because I probably was, and just it's a way of bringing down the energy so that we don't, I don't know, fly off the planet or something, get too happy or forget who we are. So it's a short book, but I really, really like it. And I just love the upper limit problem concept.
I like that you gave your family permission to say that as well. Because I mean, honestly,
I did not give them permission. They just did that.
Well, honestly, sometimes we do just need a little slap on the hand, actually, to be like, excuse me.
Wake up.
Okay, well, that's one thing we could give people in our lives. I don't know. I probably don't want my kids walking around telling me when I'm salty.
Yeah. No, we'll wait till they're teenagers, but yeah.
Yeah, they're going to do it anyway. Anyway, then I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so we most of us do this. I'm not going to say we all, because maybe there's some really happy adoptees out there. I don't know.
Some unicorn adoptees.
Yes. With glitter on them. And I would love to be friends with them so they can teach us how. But for us, what are some things we can do to combat the upper limit problem?
Sure. Yeah. I have a few thoughts about it.
Okay.
One of them is holding two things at once. So like here we are, we're celebrating your 200th episode. It's really, I mean, if I really try to open more right now to it, it's so exciting. Like, I'm so proud of you. I'm so amazed by you. I'm so grateful for what you've given our community. I could really start to open. I could feel it even physically as I'm saying, I could start to open. So we can try to hold two things at once. Like, on one hand, wow, I'm so happy. I'm so excited. I get to be here with you celebrating in this conversation. Like, this is really cool. And then the other part of me, which is it's scary to open up. Like, what if I say something that upsets people and I get a bunch of hate mail? Or what if, this is the adoptee, default mode network. Like, what if I don't celebrate you enough? Like, what if I disappoint you somehow? Or what if this or what if that? So I have both parts of me, right? I have the genuinely happy part of me, an excited part of me. And then I have the part of me that's ready to find rejection or a problem or shame anywhere in any situation. And so if I know that, I can just be aware that I have both parts at the same time. I don't have to get lost in my happiness or get lost in avoiding screwing up or something like that. I can just be like, yeah, here I am. I've got both parts and I'm going to do my best.
Okay. I'm trying to be in that. I think that's what I'm already trying to do. So what does that look like? If I have the hard feelings kind of coming up, be like, okay, that's okay. Great. You're here too. But also I'm still celebrating. So try not to be a downer. Okay. We can just talk to ourselves like that, right? We've got the internal
it's kind of like
voice.
Coaching ourselves in a way. Right. But I think and I'm not sure if this is true for you, but I think for me, the harder thing is opening more to my actual excitement. Like, actually, my excitement has a question for you. If I really start to open to it, it wants to talk to you.
Okay.
Are you ready? I have a question.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. I don't know if you've ever talked about this before, but can you tell us the very beginning of this idea? What was happening in your life, and how did this even, like, the birth of Adoptees On? Like, how did it happen? Where were you?
Well, I had the two things going on. Okay. I had Haley, the podcast lover, who heard a couple of separate independent podcasters talking about how they recorded in quick succession within a couple of days of each other. And I thought, oh my gosh, I could totally do that. And then the other piece of that was in reunion. I remember talking to folks on Twitter and talking about the ups and downs of reunion. And I was at least 4 years into reunion with my dad at the time. And so we'd gone past the really hard parts, but things were still, it's always up and down, right? And so I just remember thinking, oh, I just really want to talk to other adoptees about that. And it came out of the hard place. So it was kind of both. It was both the like, I could do that. And also I want support.
Wow.
Yeah.
So then what was your next step?
I still have my bullet journal from those days. And I literally, every time I listened to a podcast, and I was an avid podcast listener then, as I am now, every time I listened to a podcast, I wrote down what I liked about it and what I didn't. And I structured my podcast to be exactly how I wanted it to be.
Wow. And you were just doing this sort of on your own because you were interested and it was your own kind of vision. And you didn't really bring other people into it directly. Wow.
No, just me. And at the time, like if you look like at my like personal life, I had little ones. And so I was a stay-at-home mom. And so this was my adult time.
That is so amazing.
Because I didn't return to work. I returned to, this was the adult stuff I was doing. So it was fun. It was really fun to dream and plan and feel like I could totally do that. All the things I've done up to this point kind of intersect my tech skills and my personal, the volunteering and things I did kind of led into the people side. I felt like I could do it. I could do a good job.
Wow. And Carrie was your first interview, right?
She was.
How did you find her?
We were Twitter friends.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we were Twitter friends. Actually, I think I may have told the story before, but funnily enough, my first interview with her is take 2 because I made this mistake one time and one time only, but we were so excited. I recorded and I did not have headphones on. And so the recording was completely unusable because it had a terrible echo. And so if you've ever been a guest on the show, you know I am vigilant. Where are your headphones? Where are your earbuds, Pam? Where are your
Right.
So yeah, that was take 2.
Wow. I'm just imagining people listening to this and all of us just imagining you with these 2 really little kids and you just creating this in your mind and then through actions and putting it together piece by piece and making this mistake and probably some other ones as you were learning and then giving us this huge gift. It's amazing.
Thank you.
See, my excitement wants to play and like talk and like hear more and get so curious. I mean, it's such a healthy part of us, our excitement.
I like that. And I like I like even calling it excitement. Like that is, even that word feels less scary than joy. Just so, again, I obviously have some fear of being like too happy. Like that, being excitement. Okay, so we have the feeling of excitement. I could get there.
Yeah. It takes work though, right? It kind of takes work.
But see, this is the thing. We talk about stuff on the healing series all the time, like, let's work on boundaries. But I don't think often enough we're talking about like, okay, and how do we work on being able to be excited, being able to stay happy and not sabotage ourselves.
Right. Yeah. I'm just thinking right now, I'm looking at your face. And I'm just thinking how excitement happens in the moment. It's a very much in the moment kind of thing. And so it took me just stopping in a way, pausing, and then starting to feel the bigness of 200 episodes and all that you've done and all the things you did before I met you and before all of us, maybe all of us listening ever met you, and how strong this has continued to be and it's still getting stronger and stronger, and just what a movement you've started. And when I really just stop and pay attention. I think it's about paying attention and open to what I'm paying attention to. I think then the excitement has a chance to get stronger.
Well, when you were saying that, I was thinking about, when did I first meet Pam? And that was on Twitter too.
It was. I remember you said, is anyone out there an adoptee and a therapist? And I thought, what a strange question. I've never heard that question in my life. So I just said, I am. And then we had a meeting on Skype and we got along, and then you invited me to be on your show. And I think the first one we did was why me? The question of why me? Like, why was I adopted? Mm-hmm. And it was a short one, and it was intense, and I was really shy and scared.
Well, your most popular episode ever is anger.
Anger, yeah. I love anger. That was a fun one to record with you. That was fun. Yeah.
I like thinking back of those things. Like, it makes me feel really thankful for you, grateful that you took a chance on this weirdo Twitter lady who was asking about therapists. Like, we had no connection.
Zero.
That. None.
Not
I don't
one.
think I don't think you followed me. Like, somebody probably retweeted it and you.
Yeah, I didn't follow you. I did. No. I mean, I just always dabbled. I barely was on Twitter ever. I mean, my whole life I've barely been on Twitter. I just happened to see that one.
Huh.
So there it was.
That's like a magic moment. If I think about it, like, that really makes me feel happy.
Yeah, me too. And then in a funny way, this is just occurring to me that, and I've said this before to people, but I did not want to be part of adoption land. And so my practice was never I once in a while would have an adoptee that would come in, and it would be kind of extra hard because it would bring up my stuff or whatever. But I wasn't looking to be part of adoption land. And then, but I think actually that was a fear of excitement because it feels so good to connect with other adoptees.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I might be hearing this for the first time from you, because I mean, you really started in grief and people who were dying from cancer.
Yeah, they were easier than adoptees for me. I'm serious. I've had cancer. That was much easier than being adopted for me. I mean, I know it's not the case for everybody. I know my cancer was an easier cancer to get through, but working with people with cancer, I could really show up. I could really come out of my shell and be there for them in a way that with adoptees, I would get a little bit jangly and inside, a little bit like, oh gosh, triggered or whatever. Yeah, much less so now, Now I just really want to help adoptees. It's different. It's changed. Yeah.
Okay, so is there excitement in being able to see the path forward for us?
Which path?
The path, like, beyond having this full lens of I'm an adopted person and this is hard and, the stuck place. Like, I really hope people listen to the show and get connected, and then also, move beyond having I'm adopted as my whole, that's not a personality.
Identity.
Yes.
Right. Right.
Yes.
Yeah. And I think there are stages. I think there's a period of time when we come out of the fog and we really need to claim it for ourselves. So there's a healthy, I think, aspect to it being all encompassing and refusing to move off of that before one is ready. Mm-hmm. But something that you and I talked about on the phone recently was about exposure, the idea of exposure therapy, like exposing ourselves to little bits more and more and more of joy, or of more active participation in joy and excitement and happiness. So my kids and their boyfriends are coming for Thanksgiving, right? They're coming in 2 days to my house, and we have a full menu, but there's this really special appetizer that's really hard to make. It's really, really, really hard to make, but it's very special. And so I would call that like part of like bells and whistles, just the extra stuff. And so I just think, who knows how many times in the rest of my life, both my kids and their boyfriends will be at my house on Thanksgiving. So I'm going to make this really special appetizer and as a gift to them and as a gift to myself and as a gift to the day. And that takes energy, but it's taking a risk because here's my adoptee brain. What if we all end up in a fight that happened 3 years ago? Or what if, I don't know what if I'm exhausted by the end of the day? Or what if it doesn't matter to them that I did this? I could come up with things that are my adoptee brain talking. But you and I talked about exposure therapy with excitement and joy and happiness and just taking a risk to do something a little extra.
I've been trying to do that, I would like to tell you. When my kids ask me to do something silly with them, I try and say yes as often as I can.
Right.
And I'm glad because I want to be the yes mom. I want to have the silly moments. And, again, for me, because it's all about everyone else and not me, I'm choosing to do it because I want to show up for them. And the benefit really is I usually am happy after too,
Mm-hmm.
So
it feels good to say yes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Especially to our kids. It feels good to say yes.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever heard of improv therapy?
I've heard of improv, but not improv therapy.
So improv is saying yes and.
Right.
So if your kids say, your improv therapy, I guess, is saying yes and in life. So if your kids say, Mom, can we have another cookie? You can say yes, and you can have it tomorrow. So there's a way of always trying to find a way to have a yes for whatever's coming towards you.
I thought you were going to say yes, and let me put whipped cream and sprinkles on top too.
Or that.
Well, we do this thing. I've shared about this on Off Script before, but once a year, this year was our second annual. I make apple pies, and we just have them for supper. We have pie for supper.
That's so fun. I want to come to your house and have that.
Well, they're gluten-free, so big check.
Yummy.
But that's the adding in a fun and a joyful thing. I think it's silly. They'll always remember that. I hope they have pie nights with their kids. Once a year, I think is okay for supper. Yeah.
Yeah, like adoptees making new traditions. So they're their own traditions that are fun and joyful and exciting and on their own terms.
Yeah.
And that's a way of not being owned by adoption or by the adoptee identity.
And it's fully like a celebratory thing. Starting a new tradition is a piece of building your own legacy, right?
Yes.
Even if it's silly.
Right. Even if it's silly.
But that can be really meaningful. Like I picture them 20 years down the road. Oh my gosh. Do you remember when Mom used to make us, pie for supper, and one day a year we could have this much pie and ice cream for supper. Oh my gosh, I got so sick. Like I can picture that. That's
really, really special. Mm. That's the stuff people talk about at funerals. Those kinds of special things.
Yeah.
They're so meaningful. Yeah.
Okay, so before we die, anything else we can do to say yes to joy? No, it's funny because I do think about my funeral sometimes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What do you think about?
Oh, who would come?
Oh, probably all of us.
You're not all coming up to Canada.
We might.
You might.
Mm-hmm. Or we might just come for your whatever party you have next.
I would rather that. Yeah.
We could do both.
Okay. All right. Any more tips? I love that I gave you my apple pie party tip.
That's really neat.
Yeah.
Well, I guess the only other thing I was thinking is that if in whatever way we have a habit of holding back our energy or our participation in life because we're protecting ourselves, we can really practice weighing in on whatever's happening around us. So we can practice investing our energy or adding to the conversation or offering something to somebody or putting our voice in the mix or our energy in the mix or surprising someone, just going a little out of our way, a little bit out of our comfort zone. This kind of goes back to exposure therapy, but we can practice investing energy even though we feel like we don't want to. And it can be an experiment.
I like that. Experiment.
I do that.
You're not committing fully to doing this all the time. You can try it once and see what it's like.
Yeah. Trying a new yes where there normally was a no, or a bigger voice when there's usually a quieter voice. Things like that. By bigger voice, I just mean saying more, putting more into the mix rather than holding back.
If you were going to assign homework to me or to any of your clients who need like the joy injection, what would be the thing that you would be like, start with the experiment with this one thing first?
Oh man. You know what? I used to kind of feel like a joy expert. Like my nickname used to be the party, but I think that was kind of a false self part of me. And in the last few years, I've gotten to where I'm not so much like that. So now I feel like I need whatever advice I would be giving anybody else. I feel like I'm in the same boat. I think joy and excitement and happiness are physical experiences. You know, they're expansive. They're expansive physical experiences. So I would want to start with the body. So here I am with you. So if I look at you and go, wow, this is Haley Radke. We're on episode 200. You know, again, I already said this, but it's like I can open to it again. Wow. And inside physiologically, I can feel myself expand like, wow, you know, so cool, so amazing. And like feeling an opening in the body and an opening in the mind, even an opening in our vision. Because when we feel, you know, really stuck or really stuck in a hard story, even our vision gets very narrow and our thinking gets very narrow. So it's like opening our minds and our vision and our perceptions into what we're trying to open to, the joy or the happiness. It's like my dog, Bentley. He's always happy. And I can be in a bad mood and look at him and just think, we're so different, you know, like that. Or I can work at it and just try to take him in, look at his beautiful eyes. Like he's not always going to be here. He's only one right now, but I don't want to say hopefully I'll outlive him, but I probably will outlive him. So I just try to think about, he's so precious to me. How do I just not just see him as different, but start to open to him and how happy he is.
I like that. It makes me feel happy. Do you know, we're recording this, you know, it's just like the holiday time and the fireplace channels are all on, and we have a new channel this year and it's the kitten channel.
Yeah.
And my son Griffin loves cats and he really, really wants a cat and we're not getting a cat. And I was like, Griffin, we can watch the kitten channel. And it's literally, because it's, you know, holiday themed. It's like this gingerbread house full of cats and they're kittens and they're just climbing out the windows and playing with little bells. Like there's nothing else happening. It's just cats frolicking. And we watched it for, I don't know, like maybe 5 minutes and we just giggled and it was so cute. And it was just like this happy little moment. And I, you know, was joking with him, like, this is as close as we're getting to having a cat. It was just like a silly little thing, but I remember that. And it was happy. I like that little moment thing because we're not talking about walking around with a smile plaster on your face 24/7. That's not really joy.
Right. We're just talking about being there for the little things.
Yeah.
And that they matter and we matter.
And on the celebration, on the birthday, it's okay if it's a hard day. Maybe there's a moment that can be special and happy.
Yeah. I'm not there with my birthday yet. Maybe I can try that this coming year.
Pick another day.
Yeah, any other day besides the birthday. Christmas or
we're working up to birthdays. We'll pick a different Just a normal day, an average everyday day.
We should have a birthday project and work on that. There's got to be something we can all do about that. I don't know yet.
Yeah. Maybe that's episode 300. Gosh, I hope not. Sooner than that.
I have a little surprise for you.
Okay.
Are you ready for it?
I think so.
So Anne Heffron and I have been teaching Flourish all year. We have our Wednesday group and our Sunday group, and they're adoptees from the UK and Germany and Australia and Canada and all over the United States. And there's 20 to 25 in both classes, so almost 50 adoptees. And we're coming to an end. It was a 1-year program, so it's coming to an end. And both groups are trying to figure out how they're going to stay together and what they're going to do and projects and just ways they can stay together because they've become so bonded with each other. Mm-hmm. And the Wednesday group has decided, and they're inviting the Sunday group to join them, that they're going to write a book called The Flourish Experience. And they're going to make a collection of what it was like to hang out with a group of adoptees for an entire year and how it affected their lives and changed their lives. And they're going to publish this book, and all proceeds will be going to you.
What?
Because without you, we would have never had Flourish. Wow. Like you are the connection point for how Flourish even came into being, and how all of their bonds now, which are so they meet up with each other. They're so connected to each other, which is what we wanted. And so all proceeds will go to Adoptees On.
That is so amazing. Thank you. I just was so excited about the project. I thought, oh my goodness, another adoptee project in the world. I love that. Aw.
Well, we're all aware that it all started with you. So we want to return something to you.
When I think about 750,000 downloads, I mean, whenever I post about a marker like that, there will always be some people that'll be like, half of those are mine. But when I think about like the thousands of adoptees that have been able to listen and know they're not alone, I mean, I'm so glad that I started this show.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. The world would be a different place without this show for so many of us. Mm-hmm. A different place. Mm-hmm. A much bleaker place.
Okay, well, is that fitting to wrap up a show about celebrating with tears? That feels very on brand for me. Oh, thank you so much, Pam. And thank you. I know that your Flourish people listen to the show. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. I can't wait to see it come out into the world. And, Pam has a fabulous book. I hope that you've already got it. If you're a listener, you probably already have it. But 10 Foundations for a Meaningful Life, no matter what's happened. And the one thing I really, really love about your book, well, there's multiple things, but you weave your story throughout, but you have practical things in every chapter, things for us to do and practice, and that are like experiments and don't have to be heavy commitment or be scared of. So I think that will add to our folks who are working on trying to celebrate as well. How can we best connect with you online?
The best way is just my email, pcordano@comcast.net.
Okay.
That's the best way.
Thank you. Thanks for celebrating with me. What an honor.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we had a party. It's a little pre-party that is going to become listened to by everyone who's celebrating you, and be a group party, a big group party.
Big group party. Thousands of folks. Thank you for celebrating with us. And I am just so honored that we get to have these conversations every week. It's just like, it's a gift for me. And I know.
For all of us.
Thank you. For all of us.
All of us. Yeah.
Thanks, Pam. I feel like we should cheers. Cheers, water bottles. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Clink. I almost touched my mic, but then I was like, no. I'm not going to do mic noise. Thanks so much for chatting with me. I just recorded the intro to the podcast, so This is Time Machine Haley. I am like tearing up. I can't believe I reached 200 episodes. And it is such a gift and an honor to be able to do this for you. And all of the amazing, fantastic, phenomenal people that I have gotten to speak with and hear their stories, all the therapists that I've gotten to come on the show to teach us and lead us in what it looks like to be an adopted person, examining the impact adoption has had on our life, and all the things I've learned over the last 5.5 years is just like all rushing in. And overall, the feelings I have are just gratitude, and it is celebratory. I can't believe I've gotten to do 200 episodes of this podcast. I just think, wow, this is amazing. I wanted to let you know how we're celebrating. So in addition to this very special episode that you just listened to, Patreon supporters of the podcast, if you're a Patreon supporter, go check Patreon for the link for this. We are doing a Zoom call to celebrate 200 episodes with my regular Adoptees Off Script co-host and the very first ever guest of the Adoptees On Podcast, episode number 1, with Carrie Cahill Mulligan. So we're doing a Zoom party. So go check Patreon for that. This is dated. So if you're listening as the show went up, the Zoom is on December 14th. If you want to celebrate with us and Patreon is not on the table, no problem. We are doing some Instagram lives. So next week, we will pop on with dates and times of just quick Patreon lives. I'm thinking like 20 minutes with some past guests. We'll also maybe introduce you to some new friends that I'm excited about. So the Instagram page for Adoptees On is Adoptees On, at Adoptees On. So make sure you're following us there, and you can turn on notifications to make sure you know when we are going to go live. And so I'll be hosting those conversations. And some of the things we'll be talking about are, has anything changed in your story since we did our interview? Or what things have you learned since we did interviews for past guests? And so I'm super excited to hear from those folks and to share those with you. I will try to make sure I save all of those. So if you're listening in the future and this has well passed, you can just go to Adoptees On Instagram and click over on the videos tab, and those Instagram lives will hopefully be saved there. I am just, I don't know, am I hyper? I kind of probably sound hyper. I'm so thrilled to celebrate this milestone, truly. And it's a wrap. It's a wrap for 2021. So I'm going on a little winter break. Do not worry. It will not be as lengthy as the summer break, I promise. But my kids will be out of school, and so it makes it challenging to record and get all the show and everything up for you. So we'll be back with brand new episodes every single week starting January 14th, which is a Friday, which is when episodes usually drop for Adoptees On. And if you are not already, make sure you follow or subscribe to the show wherever you listen, so your brand new episodes will just automatically download in whatever your favorite podcast app is. Would love to have you here as a listener every week so you stay in the know. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for making it possible to get to 200 episodes. There are thousands of you listening all around the world. I think we're almost at 800,000 downloads when I'm releasing this, and over 140 countries represented as listeners. I almost have 300 patrons, and the more folks that join Patreon, the more content we're able to make, and the more adoptees we're able to support. There are so many benefits to joining Patreon. We have book club. We do off-script parties where you can make new adoptee friends. We have a private Facebook group, and there's a weekly other podcast that does not go on breaks. So I have over Oh my gosh. I think it's over 140 episodes of Adoptees Off Script over on Patreon for Patreon supporters. So if you're like, Haley, you say Patreon all the time, I don't even know what that is. Patreon is like a crowdfunding website. So you can sign up for a monthly amount, or you can pay for the year. And it's like a membership. So every week you get the Off Script podcast and you can download it right into your favorite podcast app, most of them. And I love using Overcast for that. So every Monday morning, there's a brand new episode of Adoptees Off Script. I mean, they're usually 40 minutes to an hour, I'd say, usually in there. If we have live book clubs and we record those. So if you can't make it live on Zoom, we put the audio of that in the Off Script podcast feed so you can catch up and listen later. We do the Off Script parties, like I said, and Facebook group for certain levels, depending on what level of Patreon support. And yeah, that's just a way that you guys are helping to pay that this show stays and it lives in this world to support more adoptees. So that's what Patreon is. And that's how you access all those things that I mention here and there in episodes. If you want to just check it out, go to adopteeson.com/partner. Has all the levels there, all the details, how to join. Once you join, there's little videos from me on how to add Off Script to your podcast catcher. There's how to join the Facebook group. All those things live in Patreon. All the links are there, and we would love to have you. I'm so honored to serve you in this way. Thank you so much for listening. And let's talk again very soon. I'll be back with brand new episodes January 14th.